Week 12 waiver wires here, and this is actually a pretty big week. It was pretty light for the last couple weeks, but lots of injuries to get to. Josh Jacobs, Jalen Warren, Bhayshul Tuten, Drake London was the big one. Michael Penix, another big one. Rodgers, Dylan Gabriel means we get some Shador Sanders, Calvin Ridley, and then Spitgate, which I will get your opinion on in a little bit. But let's start with the big one. Sean Tucker steals the job from Rachaad White at about halftime, goes absolutely crazy, super explosive. Had a bunch of touchdown opportunities out in space, took advantage of that. And the Bucky Irving news, we have no idea where it is. So how should we treat Sean Tucker from this point moving forward?
I mean, it really just depends on when Bucky Irving comes back, which is what makes this so difficult. They started this game basically like they've started the last two. So if you go back in time, when Bucky Irving first got hurt, it was full-on workhorse Rachaad White. Over the last 2 weeks, they pivoted to closer to a 50-50 split on early downs, but White getting literally everything else and all of the receiving and about 2/3 of the snaps. Coming into this week, you could get excited about Tucker's potential, especially against a very vulnerable run defense. And they started with White getting the first drive as they had. Tucker starts integrating on the second drive. And for most of the first half, it was still this committee approach. And then in the second half, they just finally realized, like, Tucker at that point had busted off this, I think, a 50-yard touchdown run or something thereabouts, had already hit for another touchdown, and they decided, okay, he's the hot hand. And they made it all Tucker all the time. They even got him involved on this wheel route touchdown as his third touchdown of the game, which was a big part of his college profile, was that he was actually a pretty reasonable pass catcher in addition to being an explosive runner. So I expect at this point Tucker to be the 2/3 of the committee to White's maybe 1/3 of the committee if they play another week without Bucky Irving. And Tucker is just way more explosive than Rachaad White, who is a volume sponge. And you should be more excited about starting Tucker under that workload than you really would have been about starting Rachaad White with anything less than like a 90% snap rate.
Yeah, see, the same way I'll be ranking Sean Tucker ahead of Rachaad White this week. The problem is it is the Rams, and they've been very good against the ground. So it goes from like the Bills to the Rams. So not going to be as clean of a slate, but totally agree. Now that they've switched the roles, it's time to switch the fantasy rankings up. What do you think is going to happen once Bucky Irving does come back? Because that could be as soon as this week. He went through like a walk-through practice. You don't get hit with a walk-through, so they still don't know about his shoulder. But in theory, that could be this week or the next week afterwards. How do you think they're going to divvy it up? And it's like maybe speak to it through like the Bucky Irving lens as well, because I'm sure a lot of people are waiting for him to get back.
I mean, I put out a tweet before the season when Rachaad White had that, I think it was a groin injury, whatever he had, it didn't amount to much, but he had like an injury scare in the preseason. And I said, as a Bucky Irving enthusiast, my preference would be for Rachaad White to stay as healthy as humanly possible, because I just don't see him as remotely threatening person in this backfield. All he's really doing is complementing the one thing that Bucky Irving struggles with, which is pass pro to an extent, because he's a smaller dude. He's gotten a lot better at it this year, but still you have some limitations there. Whereas Tucker is a guy who, if he had a runway to establish himself as someone you want to get the ball in his hands, that infringes on Bucky Irving a little bit more. I also thought when this injury happened, like initially the reporting was it would just be a couple weeks. So I figured, okay, it's just going to be the Rachaad White show. Tucker won't have enough chance to get a foothold. That was the case early. As it extended, Tucker did get his claws in, and they now realize that Tucker is a major force. I will say last year, they also had a game like this with Sean Tucker, and they just did not care.
Yeah.
They immediately went right back to a Bucky Irving, Rachaad White committee and basically stuck Tucker back on the sidelines. If it were me, I think probably what I would do is just make White like basically like a Tyler Beatty, where it's like you only play on 3rd and 10. But you don't get anything else. You don't play even in the 2-minute drill. You don't get any carries. You only play as a pure pass pro guy. And then I would give Tucker probably 25 to 30% of the touches, and I'd give Irving the rest. So he'd probably wind up in like the 55 to 60% snap rate range. That's what I'd do. It would be a decline from Irving's early season role for no reason to do with Bucky Irving, but that's, I think, the best allocation of the talent in this backfield.
Yeah, that's how I would play it too. I don't think that Sean Tucker's going to have much value once Bucky Irving comes back. Now, it's also a shoulder injury, and you just never know. He hasn't taken a big hit yet, I'm guessing, since the injury, and it has lingered for a very long time. So like, I'm wondering if he like fully dislocated it, and there's being very kind of coy about the whole situation, but also see it the same way where I just don't think that Bucky's going to be back to the top 12 status. They're missing both their guards now. on top of things. So they might get more to the perimeter, which is good news for like Sean Tucker. That's how he sprung some big things out in space. So yeah, I like Sean Tucker. I think he's going to be more of a 1 week rental type and then a high ceiling handcuff. And then with Bucky Irving, probably going to park him in like the running back 20-ish range moving forward.
I'd do that to start. I think he has potential to climb upwards from there.
Oh, for sure.
He was, for what it's worth, he was at 18.5 points per game in full PPR, probably a little less than that, of course, in underdog scoring in the first 4 games. There's a potential he gets back. That was still with White getting like 25% of the work. Yeah. And it's possible that Tucker just replaces that and all White plays are like some pure pass pro stuff that he doesn't even get any touches.
Yeah, I would just be worried if like now the goal line role is not like almost 100% to Bucky, and that's getting a little bit closer. Because Sean Tucker's a big dude, so but we'll see. There's
possible. I don't think they'll give the goal line work to Tucker. I'm not as worried about that. Yeah, they've had this guy on their roster for like 3 years, and it took like so much for them to get him on the field. Mm-hmm. I think they might value his explosiveness, but I'm not sure that. There must be some reason that they think he's like unreliable or something to avoid playing him. Like every fantasy analyst thinks this guy's been awesome for 3 years. So I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, moving over to the other big score of the week, Michael Wilson goes out there, career day, pretty much doubles up whatever Marvin Harrison has been doing as the top target now. That's with Jacoby Brissett playing out of his mind. But we're talking about a year 3 player. I think on film, he's been like all right in very limited samples. I thought like he plays on the outside, but he actually kind of has like the possession type of role, like little in cuts, out cuts, pretty reliable, a slant route type of guy. What did you see from Michael Wilson in this one? How stable is this? And I'll just say, I'm guessing Marvin's not gonna be able to play through that appendix surgery this quick. It's hard to like work over the middle when they like literally removed one of your organs the week before.
Yeah, I have no idea. This isn't like the type of injury that I feel like I've seen a million examples of. So like I have no clue how long
they did remove an organ. So I would guess that's just like more than 1 game, but who knows?
It seems likely. Yeah. But like, it's just, I don't know, hard to gauge. It's not like I'm like, oh yeah, high ankle, 2 to 4 weeks. So yeah, I suspect probably median outcome, he gets 2 to 3 weeks. I do think this coaching staff is very incentivized to get him back whenever possible because they are clearly coaching for their jobs.
Yep.
So generally speaking, I don't know. I think with Michael Wilson, like we've never seen anything in his statistical profile, like just like from a target earning perspective that would suggest he's really any good. His college profile also was not very statistically inviting. But you had posted, I think last year, and I think you retweeted it today, some like really impressive just kind of completion percentage rates on certain routes that like really hyper focus on the splash zone type stuff. That's certainly interesting. And we've seen, like, I think in recent years, maybe a slightly longer development arc for some X receivers that we used to think were total duds who became, average starters to even good starters. Think of Alec Pierce, who we talked about the last couple of weeks. You could think of Romeo Dobbs as another example of this. So like, I'm not going to close the door entirely to Michael Wilson being serviceable, especially when the only other guys on this offense outside of Trey McBride are like Greg Dortch and
so bad.
Actually, who is the third receiver on the Cardinals?
I didn't even bother to check. It could have been producer Weaves for all I know.
Like they threw 58 passes. Surely one of them was thrown to someone else.
it wasn't good.
Find out live?
Yeah, let's go for it. Let's see if we can guess.
Okay. Jacoby Brissett literally set the all-time NFL record for completions in a single game. And
Andy Isabella.
Two of them were to a guy named Xavier Weaver. So it is producer Weaves.
Yeah, I called it.
Yeah, you were right.
What are the odds? What are the odds there? Unbelievable.
Yeah.
But with Michael Wilson, just go back to it. I think that he was running more downfield routes with Kyler Murray because that's like hypothetically where you would like throw the ball with Kyler Murray. And now Jacoby Brissett's going to be more willing to throw the ball underneath. He's not going to take as many sacks. He's also working over the middle. So all these like in-breaking slant routes, the little out routes that I was talking about from my offseason research, I think that now applies now that he's the one with Jacoby Brissett. So he's definitely a top 30 guy for this week and moving forward. You're always not going to catch the 49ers defense, who's super banged up. I do think if you're looking for like a 1 week rental at wide receiver, he's probably my favorite. I think we'll get to Christian Watson and Mooney in a little bit here, but I think for just like the next week, I would rather have Michael Wilson than those guys. But we'll have to rank those guys.
How could you not? He just had 15 catches.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Like at a certain point, like you can chase 15 catches. You're not going to get arrested for that.
For sure. Okay, well, let's chase this. I know you're going to be a big fan of this one. Bhayshul Tuten, we've talked about him, I think, about every single week, every best ball podcast. He was like the name for the summer. We got here. He's splitting reps with Travis Etienne. There's no like way to sugarcoat it either way. It's just all of a sudden Etienne's in, all of a sudden Bhayshul Tuten's in. Tuten, they were giving these like nice like pitches to like use his speed. I thought that was good utilization. He gets a goal line opportunity. Travis Etienne's doing some wildcat stuff at the goal line. It's one versus the next here. It sounds like we've dodged a serious injury from Tuten. We don't have all the details there. But what have you seen from Bhayshul Tuten recently? And like, do you think that this will be a closer to 50-50 split the rest of the way?
Yeah, it was really out of nowhere, to be honest. I like looked back at last week's game log. I was like, did Tuten have like a better game than I remember? No, not really. No. He's had moments certainly in this season where he's popped up, but I wouldn't say that like recently was some like great arrival. So I don't know if this is just like a thing they felt in practice or if they felt like Etienne was wearing down. My guess was they went into a matchup where they don't have Hunter for the rest of the year. They didn't have Brian Thomas in this game. They're integrating Jacoby Myers, and they're playing a defense that's way better against the pass than the run. So I think they probably went into this matchup and said, we want to run the ball 35 times. So we're just going to start from the jump, rotating these guys far more evenly because, we don't want to give Travis Etienne 28 carries in this game. Mm-hmm. And then Tuten just looked fantastic in this game. It was really effective for them. And Etienne was fine too, but Tuten was even more efficient of the two in this spot. And so I think they figured, well, we're already kind of have this plan and this guy's looking great. Why not just keep feeding him the rock, And I think, injury concerns aside, that they probably would have continued to do this going through the following weeks where, why would you not? You drafted this guy for a reason. He looks fantastic when you give him a real opportunity. Why would you not just keep doing it? So I think that would have been the plan. I'm not sure we're out of the woods on the injury situation. Yeah. Players love to say they're good immediately after. They're eternal optimists. Brian Thomas returned to the game a couple weeks ago. He's now missed 2 weeks with a high ankle sprain. Jonathan Taylor said he was good in a post-game interview on the field against Pittsburgh last year. High ankle sprain. He missed 3 or 4 weeks after that. Yep. So I think, maybe he is actually good, but I think it's like 50-50 at best that he just straight up avoids any missed time out of this. And that could really halt the momentum that Tuten gets. So I wouldn't go crazy on this. Mm-hmm. At best, even, you're looking at a guy who's probably in a 50-50 committee. I'll note it was 46% snaps each, exactly even in the first half between them. And then at the time that Tuten went out, he had 15 carries. Etienne had 12 and 2 targets. So best case scenario, he's good. You have a 50-50 committee. That's valuable. It's exciting. It would be more exciting if this was in week 4. But worst case scenario, he misses a couple weeks, or even he plays, but they're concerned about the ankle and they don't give him as many carries. So I think it's like a super fun development. It's just a really crappy timing.
Yeah, I think that's like maybe small odds that he just turns into like a 67% lead back over Travis Etienne. It's getting a little bit late, and the Jaguars are like definitely in the playoff hunt here. So I don't think it's the most likely scenario, but versus some of the other guys we're going to talk to today, it's at least theoretically possible with Tuten. Devin Singletary is in pretty much a 50-50 committee too. Just wanted to note with the Giants, first of all, the Giants are very bad. But secondly, there's an actual like difference in like the usage here. Devin Singletary has played all 18 of the snaps over the last 3 weeks inside the 10-yard line. And then Tyrone Tracy's getting like a majority of the other. He looked pretty good. Both guys I thought looked fairly well here. So what should we expect from Devin Singletary? If you had like do rankings for like the next couple weeks, would you rather like just try to get the goal line plunge with Singletary or try to play the PPR scam with Tyrone Tracy?
I mean, definitely in a full PPR, I think you'd rather play Tracy. He is getting more of the work. In half, it's probably pretty darn close to even. Yeah. It's tough because like the goal line back on the Giants is not the goal line back on like the greatest team in the world. Yeah, so especially when Dart's back. I mean, when Dart's back, you feel better about it for sure. But like, this is still the Giants. It's still without Neighbors. It's still even without Slayton at the moment. Like, they're not going to be a team that I suspect will have like a ton of 25-point team totals going into the week. So I probably still lean Tracy, but I think Singletary is totally start viable. Like, if people read the Hitchhiker's Guide, I'll probably have both these guys in like the tier 3, which is like the streamers that I call them, basically, like guys you can put in there in the flex. Like, I would think of Singletary maybe like a just slightly worse because their offense is a little worse version of like Zach Charbonnet.
Yep. Great call.
But like similar vibes, although probably more reliable to actually get the inside the 10 carries. Like Charbonnet is probably the favorite for them, but it's not a guarantee, as we saw last week.
Yep. Okay. Kenny Gainwell, this is another one where you're just waiting for news with Jaylen Warren. It was a committee before Jaylen Warren's injury. Kenny Gainwell went absolutely nuts overseas when Jaylen Warren did miss that game. It's been a committee since then. I'm not sure if you've seen anything on the Jaylen Warren injury update. And then do you think it will be like a very similar split where Gainwell goes crazy and Caleb Johnson just mixes in just for a couple snaps?
Yeah, so first thing I'll note is I saw some people tilting about the usage at halftime. They didn't run a ton of plays, and they had this 10-play, 2-minute drill drive, which is Kenny Gainwell time anyways. So I didn't really view anything that happened in the first half as being particularly out of the ordinary. It was just Kenny Gainwell's a 2-minute third down back. They happen to have a long 2-minute drill. Then, of course, Warren picks up that injury, I think, pretty immediately into the second half. Some people were saying he returned or was looking like he was going to return. He never got another touch, so I don't know if he played a snap or two. After that point, I'll note, Kenny Gainwell had 6 carries at the time that Warren got hurt because he had that inordinate 2-minute drill. He gets 3 carries more for the rest of the game. Caleb Johnson actually had 5.
Yep.
So despite Gainwell having the big game, the breakdown in the second half was much more even between the two than what it was over when we saw them in London or whatever European country and city that they were in for that huge Kenny Gainwell game. So I actually would project that if Jaylen Warren does miss, we see a committee. You'd rather start Gainwell, but I'm projecting it as more of like a 50-50 carries and Gainwell gets all the passing work committee versus what they were when it was total Kenny Gainwell workhorse season. Just kind of seeing how they immediately got Johnson involved. Like Warren went out of the game. Next year's the 1st and 10. They gave 3 straight Caleb Johnson carries at that point, not Kenny Gainwell carries. So I think it's things have shifted a little bit. On Warren, what I've seen as best guess is a low ankle sprain. So probably more in the 1 to 2 missed weeks than in the 3 to 4 missed weeks. But we'll see. Definitely potential for him to miss some time.
And then complicating it, Aaron Rodgers probably going to miss this next game. At the same time, it's against the Chicago Bears, who haven't really been able to stop anybody. So I agree with you. I think that we'll see more Caleb. It would make more sense to get the rookie more involved as the season continues, but it'll be Kenny Gainwell in my rankings. So this is where I talked about in the beginning of the show. There's a lot of names here. None of them are like actually like that awesome. It's like cool that we have a bunch of different options depending on what your team needs, but none of these guys are like absolutely slam dunks. The next one, Emmanuel Wilson. If Josh Jacobs' knee is an actual like big deal, which it doesn't sound like it is, Emmanuel Wilson would be an awesome handcuff type. He played pretty much all the snaps after Jacobs left, but I believe it's just a knee bruise. And I went back and watched it. He really did land like straight on his knee. Like there was no like hit like sideways or anything like that. He just like landed on his knee and then played the next snap and then was removed from the game. I don't know what a knee bruise means for Josh Jacobs. I don't know if it's a bone bruise or just a regular bruise. Who knows? But Emmanuel Wilson for the Packers. Let's pretend Josh Jacobs misses the next game or two.
Yeah, just based on like how I'm reading the reports, if I had to guess, I would guess Josh Jacobs misses 1 week.
Yes.
I would rate it like the most likely is he misses 1, the next most likely is 0, and then it's like a big tier break, and then the third most likely is he misses 2.
Yep.
So if you like really need a win next week to get into playoffs, especially if you are the Josh Jacobs owner, it's a no-brainer. Just go all out on Emmanuel Wilson. But if you're looking at anyone who could help you in the playoffs, I don't think Emmanuel Wilson's going to be that guy unless you get a subsequent Josh Jacobs injury. Yep. Also, just note, Jacobs is just a tough dude. And like whatever scale you have of missed weeks for like most guys, I would just always push him way more on the edge of playing because he just plays through everything. So the role was incredible. Wilson had 94% of the snaps after Josh Jacobs went out. He's easily ranking in my low-end RB1 range if we do miss Jacobs this week, but just don't go crazy. The Chris Brooks, like I thought they actually might play more just from like a pass pro perspective. They didn't. And Marshawn Lloyd, apparently he actually exists, I've heard. There's rumors of it.
Barely.
And they're apparently going to open his practice window next week, but I don't view that as being any threat to Emmanuel Wilson.
Yeah, that'll probably just be another setback for him, which is the way his career has gone.
Yeah.
How about one of his teammates, Christian Watson? We talked about him on the show. Since then, it's the same exact role. It's just he's connecting on them more frequently right now. Had 2 awesome touchdown plays, playing ahead of Golden. It sounds like Jaden Reed's like getting closer to return, but not like necessarily the next couple weeks here. So where should we go with Christian Watson? Like without Tucker, Jordan Love's like kind of like heaving the ball down the field. Christian Watson's coming down with them. How, like, where should he be in the rankings for like the next couple weeks?
I mean, he's remarkably volatile. I like them this week because Giants are just an otherworldly man coverage heavy defense. And so you just always want to take advantage of those spots when you have this vertical X wide receiver type going against those spots. But they now get a lot, or they get the Vikings, who are an interesting matchup in that they're like bad overall versus they're bad matchup overall for wide receivers. But because they're so blitz heavy, they will leave you in single coverage in a high proportion of snaps. And Watson's a guy who could take advantage of that. And then they get the Lions, which are a pretty susceptible secondary. So you get some fun matchups coming up for Christian Watson's skill set. I think he's clearly, I mean, he's shown more in like 3 games off a torn ACL than Matthew Golden has all year. Yeah. So I think he is pretty clearly like behind Dobbs weekly, but probably the highest ceiling guy every week if you're attacking the Green Bay Packers, especially in a DFS context, and probably the second guy in just median projections. I'd view him as like a volatile but very high-end wide receiver 4. If you're deciding between him and someone else that's similarly ranked and you're an underdog in your matchup, like just fire in Christian Watson because he adds a little bit of juice to your lineup.
Yeah, he's like in a very similar role to Alec Pierce. I don't think he's as well-rounded as Pierce is, and then the Colts pass a lot more. Like the Packers are just so frustrating, slow pace and whatnot, but similar roles and just downfield threats. Big one here, Darnell Mooney. I mean, my gosh, did we already see this exact scenario where you had Drake London miss? It's supposed to be a huge Darnell Mooney game and then absolutely clanks it. He's been clanking the ball off his chest the entire season. Now on top of that, it's Kirk Cousins for the rest of the season. So general vibes around the Falcons. What have you seen from Kirk Cousins, Darnell Mooney? Is there any hope that last year what I saw on tape and in the box scores that we can return to that while Drake London misses the next like month or so with a PCL injury?
Dude, it is just unbelievably bleak over at Darnell Mooney HQ. I believe he's sitting on 36 targets, 16 catches this year. It came out last week, I think midweek, that the mysterious shoulder injury he suffered in preseason was actually a broken collarbone. And like, I've never broken my collarbone, so I can't say what it feels like to play football 3 months after, but watching Darnell Mooney makes me think it hurts because just something ain't right with how he's playing the ball at the catch point at all. I, of course, had the close-up on him 2 weeks ago in the Germany game versus the Colts. He killed them in that game, had multiple just awful drops. And they just don't really have any choice, I guess, but to use him as the wide receiver 1 because after him in London, it just gets so bleak, it's fast.
So bad.
We're talking about former USC quarterback recruit David Sills. We're talking about, is Kadarius Hodge still on this team? I think
barely. Swag news on it. Yeah, Jamal Swag news on it. Casey Washington. And their offensive line's all banged up. I mean, Chris Lindstrom and Matthew Bergeron have been like barely playing if they have been playing backup right tackle. And then Kirk Cousins, like I try to watch it, man. I'm worried that he just like does not have the velo anymore, like at all.
No,
it's not coming back. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah, I think he's completely cooked. I think this team is completely cooked. I think this regime is completely cooked because they're about to give like the 6th overall pick to the Los Angeles Rams. And I think they should just fire every single person. And I mean, you're also like Penix. I don't think he's going to be ready for week 1 next year. Like, I think it's totally plausible that it's just new GM, new team president, new head coach, new quarterback. You keep Bijan, you keep London, and you keep the 2 edge rushers they got in Terrell, and everything else nothing else is nailed down to the floorboards as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I was like looking at their roster, like even like Jake Matthews, their left tackle who's been there forever. He's like 34, so like you're gonna have to find a left tackle in the next couple drafts as well. So and who knows with Penix, this would be his third torn ACL surgery. Man, I mean, like how much could you actually have faith in that? So they might be in the quarterback market.
I mean, he hasn't been any good this year. His entire offseason that he's going to need to progress is going to get completely harpooned. You need a week 1 starter anyway. It's a disaster situation. I mean, they have some fun young guys on offense and defense, but just a really tough spot. I'm not very interested on Mooney. Like I'm sure that he will be on the Leone model every week from now until the end of the season. But like he's been playing like crap all year. Kirk Cousins has been playing like crap all year. And this offense without Drake London, it just has nothing anyone needs to be afraid of. I'm even concerned for Bijan. Like I'm not saying you're benching him, obviously, but like where would you rank him now rest of season among running backs? Because I think he's now like solidly below the group of CMC, JT, Achane, Gibbs. Like he's now dropped into another tier. Like I wouldn't be that surprised if he's more like a Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry. Like I know he's going to get the reception volume, but like if I'm game planning against a completely immobile Kirk Cousins who can't throw more than 8 yards with no wide receivers on the roster, I mean, you're just sticking 9 guys in the box and daring that team to try to throw over the top. It's going to be an ugly situation.
Yep, full agree across the board. Maybe more positivity here, though. Luther Burden, we have a depth chart change. He passed Olamide Zaccheaus here. Had some drops of his own, I will say, in this last game, but the signs are starting to break through that there's a chance that he could be in 2 wide receiver sets by the very end of the year, or he's 1 injury away, or he's just a big play hunter on an offense that looks at least like somewhat capable here. So any like last hopes for Luther Burden as we get to the last couple weeks?
Yeah, big Luther Burden guy. I think this is a long time coming, although I will continue to say this is the most socially acceptable outcome. I actually don't think it's the optimal outcome. I think their best offense would be 12 personnel heavy all the time with Rome and Luther.
Yep.
And I get why they've been in this dilemma all year with Olamide, because their whole offense his role revolves around these choice routes, and you don't want a rookie running them. And DJ Moore can't run them. He got one against Cincinnati. He converted into a post and ran right into Roman Tunze's shoulders. Yeah. So the role that Luther should be in is DJ Moore's role, but there's like $30 million of reasons why that can't happen. So they found this alternate solution. I'll also note there's even more room to grow, I think, than what we saw. They played Colston Loveland and Cole Kmet each 75+% snap rates in this game. That's in part because they were leading the whole time and they were being as cowardly as humanly possible. So they were just running the ball relentlessly. And also because you want to have max protect situations to deal with Brian Flores and his blitz packages. So if they keep this same distribution of snaps, we're going to see all 3 of Rome, Moore, and Burden snap rates go up in future weeks. I think he is, drop issues aside, just very obviously the second best separator on this team, and the best chance for explosives down the field. So definitely think he is like a startable-ish option rest of the season, and maybe even some upside to be a smash for best ball tournaments and stuff the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, on my drop list, I had DJ Moore listed on there. Like, you don't have to drop him if you're in a really shallow league, though. I do think that he's like one of the big name guys that there really is just not like a very straightforward path to him being like a top 36 guy before the week starts. So I think he was on my list.
He has 1 catch the last 2 weeks combined.
Yeah, it's not been good, and he's going to be he's not going to be a Bear next year. On top of that, let's go to 2 quarterbacks real quick. Jacoby Brissett, since week 6, he's the quarterback 4. He's under contract with the Cardinals for this next season. He has just been, in a garbage time heat. And he keeps slinging the ball, man. And like, I don't know how close this is to like the Joe Flacco stuff that we saw. We also saw what the Joe Flacco rug pull could look like. That's going to be coming for Jacoby Brissett eventually. But where the hell am I supposed to be ranking Jacoby Brissett these next couple weeks here? If you're Michael Penix or Rodgers, or you somehow had Dylan Gabriel instead of Jacoby Brissett, help these guys out as we head into like some bye weeks.
It's like incomprehensible what's happening. We watched Jacoby Brissett last year look like the worst quarterback of all time on the New England Patriots.
Yep.
And that was obviously a horrendous situation. But like, then he just comes in here and just
this isn't a good one. On this offensive line stinks.
Kyler Murray repeatedly. No, I mean the situation was horrible. They have a bad offensive line. They're in trail script the whole game. They don't have Marvin Harrison Jr. So like he's just out here throwing to Michael Wilson and producer Weaves, and he sets an all-time record for completions in an NFL game.
It's insane.
I mean, he's still like turning the ball over. He's taking sacks. Like he's not like, you know, he's not going to be lighting up the EPA charts. But like from a fantasy perspective, it kind of rules. And they don't have any running backs, so they have no choice but to just let him sling the pill repeatedly. Yep. So yeah, I guess he's like a low end QB1. It's crazy. So weird. It's kind of like the Jameis last year, I guess, is probably the easiest comparison. Where just some of these situations really spiral, and like Aiden O'Connell could have been this last year too on the Raiders, where they were just racking up all this play volume. He's just not very good. But like sometimes you do get these teams where they will just rack up play volume consistently from behind. They don't have a running game, and you have, for whatever reason, a coaching staff that's willing to just lean into that and chuck from behind, and it all lines up for us here. So yeah, it's totally doable.
The next 2 weeks, Jacksonville and then Tampa Bay. So those are two like pass funnel defenses too. So I think those 2 weeks you can possibly get away with Jacoby Brissett. Then you get the Rams and the Texans afterwards. I think we'll be waving the white flag for those games. But yeah, it seems like the Cardinals are trying to prove a point with the style offense that they could run without Kyler Murray. So I just thought that was
for sure
pretty fascinating. All right, let's end this on a couple drop list candidates. We're going to go with Jerry Jeudy and David Njoku right at the top of this list because it's Shedeur Sanders for this week, it looks like. I'm not sure what you saw. Actually, I do know what you saw from Shedeur Sanders. But does that mean that, like, what do you think the team total is going to be for this next week for the Browns? Let's start there. And then, like, is there a Quinshon Judkins is the RB26 or something like that, and then everybody else is for sure benched?
Yeah, Judkins has not been very useful at all recently, and it's not his fault. I thought he looked fantastic in this game. Early, he had like a couple of beautiful runs. It's just they don't throw to him. They don't throw to anybody, and they stink. So it's just a brutal situation for him. I don't think anyone else is startable, and I think Judkins is like a very low-end RB2. It remains so bizarre, just the experience this offseason of like being told all college season, like, yeah, this Shedeur Sanders, like he might go in the top 5. And then you just start watching the film and you're like what? Like, what are people seeing here? Because like he looked much like he did last year at Colorado.
This is exact same.
He catches the ball and he starts stumbling backwards, and he doesn't seem to be going through any sort of progression. He's just playing Madden out there, just like running backwards, schoolyard. I hope something winds up popping open. He's actually not very fast at all. He's quite slow despite his desire to play this scrambly style. And yeah, he looked uncertain of what he was seeing. His pocket movement is like uniquely atrocious to a level I've maybe never seen in the NFL. And just throwing the ball on a whim, trying to get away from dudes that he can't get away from because they're NFL athletes. And it's just, it's ridiculous. So I think sure, he's going to get the first team reps this week. That'll
solve it.
Great. He gets a great matchup. He gets the Las Vegas Raiders. I think Max Crosby's going to sack this dude 5 times.
Yeah. I mean, I think the team total is going to be like at 13.5 or something. I think it could be the lowest of the entire season here. It was a total mess. They're going to blitz him like crazy. That's what the Ravens did. He had no answers to the test. So yeah, Jerry Jeudy, David Njoku, Harold Fandon, everybody aside from Quinshon Judkins, I think it's just droppable for right now. It's just a pathetic showing for the Browns as usual. Keon Coleman's also on my drop list. I mean, you get suspended, and guess what? Like, you sleep through a meeting or something like that. If you were good, you're not suspended. You miss a series like we just saw with the Cowboys, and then you're right back in the lineup. You're only inactive if you're not very good. So Keon Coleman's had the one game where he went crazy in week 1 and trail. But aside from that, it's just almost like a lost cause at this point. So Keon Coleman's on my list. Jordan Mason, he scored a really nice touchdown, but the JJ McCarthy stuff is really, really bad. There's just like not a clean path to him being very fantasy viable. Do you have any notes on the Vikings offense?
In the early season, they were going basically drive for drive. Mason, of course, then got to be the starter after the Jones injury. Jones comes back, and it was mixed that first week. The next 2 weeks, it was kind of a 2-for-1 situation.
Yep.
And they even dispensed with that in this game. I think they knew this game was their season. Jones plays the entirety of the first 2 drives. He even starts the third drive, catches a pass. Mason comes in for second down. He gets 1 carry. They say, thank you. Goes right back to the bench. He happened to be on the field to break that long run. I still think he's a useful player. But, he is no different than 20 other backups. He doesn't have any sort of standalone role.
Yep.
Aaron Jones, just an every week mid-range RB2.
Yeah, and I think for just the handcuffs, the Vikings are going to be bottom 5, bottom 10 in, I think, team total the rest of the way. Like, they're going to keep probably starting JJ McCarthy, and they're just no end in sight with the JJ McCarthy stuff. He looks way behind, and no matter how you slice up the film, he's just way behind on everything. There's just no way. He's a backup level quarterback right now, so we should have like real low expectations for all these guys, which means Jordan Mason's no different than like Dylan Sampson or something like that right now.
Yeah, he's stunningly bad. I don't like, what odds would you put it that he's the week 1 starter for the Vikings in 2026? Because I don't understand. Like, I get this is his first year starting, but at the end of the day, best ability is availability. We've seen Anthony Richardson, Trey Lance, highly touted quarterbacks drafted higher than he was with teams. Lance's team had legitimate Super Bowl expectations. I guess the Colts do too, but nobody thought they did.
We didn't know at the time.
The Vikings are in a spot where the rest of their roster is ready to go.
Yeah.
If through 2 years in the NFL, this is what you've put forward, and I understand that there's limited games because of 2 separate injuries. Like, I don't understand how you can be part of a team's plans with that.
Yeah.
You're dealing with one of the best playmaking groups in the NFL, one of the best offensive minds in the NFL. It's just sub-viable. The footwork is ridiculous. His feet are like crossing. He's clicking on everything. He's so late on some of these progressions. The interception that he threw, the first one, people were saying, oh, he got hit. It would not have mattered if he got hit. Calvin Byard is dropping in the zone all the way back. He throws into double coverage. He just never sees him. He's not playing fast enough. He's not processing well enough. And he only throws at 1 speed. Everything's a fastball. There's no touch.
Way too hard.
It's just deeply concerning. He doesn't look like he has the physical attributes to succeed. Doesn't look like he has the skill, the footwork. Doesn't look like he has the mental capacity right now either. It's just a way off.
Yeah, I think it just like matches up with what they've been saying in the media too. Like, if you want to like take it like very literally, like they've been warning us that this was going to be the result. And even some like his teammates like before the season were just kind of talking about this. So I would put it at like 20% that he's like the starter next year, 25%. There's not very many good free agent options. Like the Mac Jones and Jacoby Brissett that we're starting to see, like they're actually under contract for another season. So it's going to be a little bit difficult to find like a real viable option. Maybe it's in the draft again, but it's simply not good enough.
I mean, you could trade for like Geno. You could trade for Kyler.
Yeah, Kyler can get released, and then maybe like that would be the start.
Tua might be available.
Yeah, well, yeah. There's some like big dead money
like
guys.
I bet Tua would do fine in this offense.
Oh yeah. I mean, this would be very similar from like 3 years ago. You get the dome environment, so I think that would be pretty interesting. Now Flores and Tua, that gets a little dicey.
Right.
So we'll see about that. But who knows? They're desperate at this point. Last ones, we've already mentioned these guys. Jacory Krosky-Merritt, nothing's really changed too much there. Chuba Hubbard, nothing's changed at all. And then I wanted to float out DJ Moore just as like a little bit of a spicier name to kind of round out the drop list. Okay, one final question. You're a lawyer, and I wanted to hear your opinion on the Jamar Chase defense. Rap Sheet said Jamar Chase is appealing because if he were to spit on Jalen Ramsey, he would have spit in his face and not at his jersey or the ground. Is that the worst defense since the certain leather glove defense from about 2 decades ago? Where would you rate that one?
Well, that defense worked if I recall.
It was
correctly.
good.
So
it was pretty good.
I guess that was a pretty good defense. So it's certainly worse than that. This is very interesting. It's like you're basically someone gets prosecuted for attempted murder, and they're like, look, I can't be prosecuted for attempted murder. If I was the one who shot him, I would have killed him. And you saying you didn't spit on someone is raising a lot of questions that are answered by your "This is how I spit on people" t-shirt. It's tough to be like, look, I'm such a good spitter. I've done this so many times.
Yeah.
I would never miss. It is hilarious. I saw that tweet where they were like, he denies it, and it was just like, deny it, brother. Like, it's on camera. We see you.
Just blame me. He could have used the AI. This would actually been very interesting if he said, no, that video is actually AI. That would actually been a much better.
That would have been better.
Yeah.
That would have been a way better defense. That would have been, you should be a lawyer.
I should be a lawyer. I'd probably get more money.
Yeah.
So that was very, very, very funny. He'll probably be suspended this game. Noah Fant, maybe like a deep league tight end kind of streamer.
Sure.
He's been popping up. Yoshi Voss, should maybe mention Yoshi Voss. Anything there?
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be Gonzalez on T. Higgins all game. So yeah. I bet one of these other Bengals has a startable performance.
Okay, all right, we'll end it there. Jacob, what do you got on the other feeds?
Yeah, I'll have stuff up I'm thinking about taking this week. As always, we'll have some sort of midweek column. We'll see exactly what it is. We'll have the Hitchhiker's Guide out Saturday as usual. Dynasty ranks are updated, regular podcasts, and I guess I won't see you next week. I'll be in London next week, so I'll see you guys when I'm able to see you guys.
Okay. All right. We'll have a normal show this week, and then Thanksgiving for us. So next week would have been screwy on our channel anyway. So for this week, Stats versus Film tomorrow. Tons to talk about. More Shedeur Sanders takes. I know that's what you guys are here for. We'll see you then.